Hi, I'm Ashutosh Bhardwaj. I'm an SVP at Straive, heading our banking and financial services practice. Come with more than 15 years of experience in banking financial services across clients, across portfolios, and across functional areas. If you look at some research, right, and if you read McKinsey's survey on what is Gen AI going to impact over the next few years, they're talking about $2.5 to $4.5 trillion of impact every year across industries, and banking is at the forefront of it, right? So almost 10% of that is going to come from banking and financial services. And within that as well, right, most of what they are talking about is primarily gains from increasing the productivity, right? So that's what they're looking at, and they're not counting too much on how much revenue improvement that's going to come due to generative AI. So if we talk about Gen AI in banking and financial services, right, it's one of the leading industries in terms of the impact Gen AI can create, right? Secondly, if we look at what they're talking about in terms of the gains is primarily productivity gains. So they haven't accounted a lot for revenue increases due to Gen AI implementations at banking financial services. Uh, how it is being implemented right now is primarily from operating efficiency perspective. So banks are increasing their operating efficiency through reducing cost of their operations. A lot of banking operations are very tedious, needs a lot of interaction with the agents or people processing the applications, as well as doing a lot of manual tasks, whether it's compliance, whether it's originations, whether it's KYC, right? So a bunch of processes take a lot of time, a lot of manual inputs, and that's being lowered because of Gen AI. And those are some of the leading implementations right now. So if we talk about what's going on in banking and financial services right now, firstly, customer experience. So a lot of work on virtual assistants, a lot of work on agent assist in the customer service area, and how it is going to go forward is primarily some of the areas that are coming up is fraud analytics, right? So bringing fraud, financial crime into one place where you can cross leverage efficiencies and analyze those large data of transactions to create meaningful impact on the outcomes, right? So that's another one. The last one, which nobody's focusing on right now, and it's going to come, is primarily from a revenue perspective, which is highly personalizing marketing content, right? So that's not the focus at banking, but that's focus at everywhere else, how to personalize content. But banking is primarily focusing on increasing productivity right now, and these marketing and compliance use cases are coming up because it's a highly regulated industry. Yeah, so Gen AI is going to transform the process of risk management, right? So there is a lot of work that has gone on. If you talk about just AI, there has been a lot of work gone in credit risk to create machine learning models to predict credit risk, right? What Gen AI is going to give is a workflow solution where you will take less time to process the applications, right? So you have regular AI models, they will get improved a little bit, but most of the saving is going to come from processing the application, how you bring in unstructured data and your scores and bureau and everything else together and create a workflow that will be faster and much better at customer experience at loan application. So right, so that's going to be on credit risk side. If we talk about fraud has always been it was probably the first area being impacted by machine learning and AI, right? But right now with Gen AI, it's going to bring in a lot more nuance into how the customer is interacting with the payment terminals, with the bank, and bring in a lot of financial crime data as well into fraud. So fraud and AML is going hand in hand right now, and all of the areas, including financial crime, are going to come together and create a more holistic and faster solution for fraud models and increase effectiveness of fraud prediction, as well as even in investigations, right? So prediction is one thing that is primarily solved through AI, But investigation is something that's going to get a lot more focus from GenAI, because investigation needs bringing a lot of data, structured and unstructured, from multiple places, and the agent has to look at it, analyze, and give a decision, right? So all of that process is going to be enhanced with GenAI, where we're going to be able to use unstructured and structured data together, bring it to the agent, assist the agent in closing the cases much faster. Compliance is more about regulations, right? So banks are not doing much right now in compliance, but compliance is a total cost for the bank, and very tedious processes, a lot of regulatory requirements of maintaining documentation, maintaining a chain of data, right? And making sure they're tracking the customer throughout the customer journey, right? So not only at origination, but even when the customer is with the bank, you have to keep tracking and make sure that they are not doing any financial crimes, right? So those kind of compliance activities, I think there's a lot of process involved, and that's what GenAI is best at, right? So bringing structured, unstructured data together, solving that problem, as we've been talking about in other use cases, to reduce manual effort, right? And remember, it's just a cost for the bank, right? So they would want to heavily reduce that effort, as well as get better at compliance, right? So that they don't get fines and they're able to get ahead of the curve on regulatory compliance. But that's coming up just because it's a regulatory nature of the work, and still some apprehensions about GenAI and AI at this point. But it's going to get impacted very heavily, because it's a lot of tedious work that goes into doing this. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that they're struggling with is making up their mind right now, right? Privacy coming as a very big concern for them. A lot of banks are not even on cloud right now, right? So they have to bring everything in-house. So all of that is a big concern right now, right? And that is going to get solved only with a roadmap, right? So if you go with individual pod solutions in banking, you're not going to get approved, because it's going to go to technology, it's going to go to business, and go to compliance, right? And you need approval to do all of that. But you need to have a roadmap and an enterprise strategy on how you will work on GenAI. And it's an imperative for banking and financial services, right? It's not a question of doing or not doing it. If you're not doing it, given how operating efficiency at the banks work, if somebody is able to do it and reduce costs by 10%, they're going to have a very big advantage in terms of getting more customers, pricing lower, getting more business, right? And getting better customer experience as they go with. So it has to be done, but you need to have the roadmap and holistic view of what the enterprise strategy around GenAI is. How will that be taken forward from a technology landscape as well as from a business side as well, right? So having that roadmap is very important for GenAI to be successful at banks.